Garry, how are you doing?
Very good. Thank you very much, Michelle. How are you?
I'm very good. I'm very good. Here is the end of Talent Month. So in
Hmm.
September we celebrated Talent Month for the digital infrastructure industry as host in Ireland. So part of that we had our jobs board where we posted hundreds and continue to post hundreds of jobs across the industry. We did a lot of talent interviews, which you did yourself. And we saw lots of good news around talent, and it just opens up this whole conversation about careers, career paths. When I think of my career path in the digital infrastructure industry, I fell into the career by absolute accident. I nearly went, I won't say I went for an interview and didn't know what the job was, but like I definitely didn't know what the industry was when I went for my first interview in this area 15 or more years ago. And I think that's something that came across a lot actually as you were doing your interviews. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Well, what's interesting about the industry is that it is only 15 years old.
Mm.
The likelihood of people waking up and actually setting out a career to want to aspire to be in the industry is highly unlikely. Of the last 15 years, you were somewhere else. You were in a wafer fab, you were a designer or a builder in a pharmaceutical place. But what's really interesting is we find ourselves in 2023 with a well established ecosystem of opportunity, whether it's designing data centers, whether it's building them, whether it's operating them. And particularly for the Irish, we found ourselves with all of that experience in wafer fabs and foreign direct investment projects to be primed to actually export those skills. And that came out most obvious was in two areas of the interviews that we did was people who started off as a receptionist working in a cabling company, then find themselves in an opportunity where they need to go out on site and do audits. And they didn't know, to your point, they didn't actually know what a data center was. But actually, they then realized that they were part of the next wave of innovation and they liked it. So I think a lot of people, when they think about new industries and a lot of the negative towards an industry that's new, is you just don't understand it.
Yeah,
You just, what is it? Oh, is that like floppy disks? No, it's new. So it's just wonderful in 2023 to start to see people that were actually saying, and guess what? We had 24 new recruits who basically said they wanted to work in the digital infrastructure industry. That's a great start. The other aspect that I thought was really, really interesting and I enjoyed a lot was actually people who find themselves gravitating towards the industry because of skills learned in international offices coming to Ireland to work from Ireland.
mhm.
That's really good. That's very positive. And also the seniority of roles, which is also great. So it's not like we're exporting a certain category of person. We're the full stack, the full engineer, the full senior manager, the full regional manager, the people who are looking after EMEA. It's just very exciting. And it's we take for granted because we're sort of in the industry slightly that other people understand our excitement. But then you think of other industries that you'd know nothing about, like farming. I went to a farming event. Wow, there's so much in this. There's so much to this. And yet, when you don't lean into it, you don't see it. You just think it's a small part. So I think the diversity of people, the different roles, the in Ireland and from Ireland, um, even from last year, was quite different this year.
For sure. That's definitely something I noticed as well. And something that, again, as somebody who was in the industry maybe 15 plus years, that actually this year in our talent interviews we had a lot of females represented there, which was really nice because that's a change, something I think we're still working on, the industry's still working on, we need to work harder at. But like, it's great to see that change. It's great to see, more women in the room, more women voices coming forward. So that's excellent as well. um the other thing I would say is, this kind of, and you touched on it there, this kind of, international piece. And there was one interview in particular, I think it was Seamus maybe, and he was talking about his time in Australia and, kind of going there and coming back. And you know, the opportunities, I suppose, that the industry brought, even in some of the tougher times in the economy as well. You know, did any of that come out for you?
Well, it's a real mixed bag at the moment of people who are finding opportunities, not just in data centers, in society in Ireland in general. We even had a wonderful, I can't remember the lady's name, but she went off and semi-reared a family and then came back and said, "I want to be in the industry, but I just don't want to do that." So
Yeah,
that's great that opportunity was there for her, with more flexible time and all the other sort of work-life practices that we're all trying to aspire towards. Um, there were words used by some of the younger engineers that I pretended that I understood, you know, digital twins and all this type of stuff. That's great. That's fantastic. Because when the youthful people come through and if they're just telling us back what we basically have been using, all we're not moving forward. So I definitely observed that there was an awful lot of new roles, jobs,
yeah,
full stack that I hadn't even heard about a few years ago.
yeah,
And but that's okay. That's okay. And actually that's quite exciting because when you look at sort of the future workplace, and I'm going to make up a statistic now, but let's say 25% of jobs in 2035 don't even have an invention yet. They haven't been invented yet. And then you look back a few years and you say, oh, yeah, that wasn't there. That's fantastic. So
yeah,
it's the breadth and the industry is maturing. And it's got an opportunity as well because it's a new industry,
yeah,
because it's an industry, and because it doesn't have a lot of legacy to actually do it differently. Like you said there about the female side of things. Well, good. That's
yeah.
good.
Oh,
You're
yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
not bringing along a whole legacy of 40,000 years of doing the same thing. So that was probably very positive that I think over 70% of the people who put themselves forward, which is also good, Michelle, because we interviewed a lot of people, but it was their choice. We
yes,
asked, would you like to be interviewed? A, their companies were comfortable with it. And secondly, they put their hand up. My experience in business is that the men all put their hands up and then look around for the people who have the talent to do it. 70% were females. Good on you. Great stuff.
really good stuff. And I think on that, and bringing it to a close, what I loved, which we just got word of a few days ago to kind of round off the month, was that I think Mitchell McDermott did very well in the best place to work in European workplaces. I think they came 39th, but it's in the entirety of workplace for a relatively new business to do so well. And actually just that focus on, you know, how do we treat our people? You know, what happens within our culture? You know, how do people enjoy this time that they spend in their work, over 80,000 hours of their lives? You know, they're actually putting real care and attention into that. So that was great news to round off the month, I think, as well.
Yeah.
So on that, Garry, thank you very much. And you know, the jobs board is still there. There's still lots of jobs being posted there every week from our partners. So for any of the viewers to keep an eye out, keep watching if you are interested in a wonderful career in this industry.
A job that probably hasn't been invented yet if you're still in college.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Thanks, Garry. Take care.